Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime, starring Chris Pratt and J.K. Simmons. When soldiers from the future teleport back to Earth to warn of an impending alien invasion, people are drafted to fight a future war to save humanity. Okay, this film is on Amazon Prime. It is free for Amazon Prime members, and I had quite a good time watching this film actually. It surprised me. Strangely enough, the film is predictable and silly in parts, but it was enjoyable. Although this film was a long film, it did feel long, but the acts did go quite well. It was paced pretty good. I found the acts got better as the film went along. The first act is the sort of time travel section. The second act is the main character meeting a character from his past in the future. And the third act is the climactic showdown and end of the film. And I found I enjoyed the film as more as it went along. It kind of drew me into the film more. I was kind of in and out of the film at the start. It was a bit ridiculous. I wasn't quite buying Chris Pratt and his family and the connection there. And the relationship with his father, this estranged father, and this forced conflict, it did feel forced and unnecessary, and I wasn't really buying the tension that he was trying to give for this. Now, first of all, for any kind of sci-fi film, especially one featuring time travel, there's going to be some issues with the plot and some silly instances. For a start, a lot of things in this film you have to just accept. I didn't quite understand the universal acceptance of this threat from the future. People came, they invade a football game, and for some reason the woman has an amplified voice, even though she has a microphone, which is kind of strange. She warns everyone about what's happening. For some reason everyone around the world is watching this football game at the same time, they can see, and then instantly the whole world is rallying together and just sending people to the future to help fight to stop the end of civilization. Another thing I had as well is I found the premise a little bit strange. I mean, I get they have to try drastic measures to save humanity, but when you're fighting a war and you're on your last legs, I think the idea of time travel is a little bit far-fetched, but fair enough. But for time travel though to go back to then send people forward again to fight a war against aliens that were extremely challenging and very, very relentless was a little bit redundant. It didn't really make much progress. I thought it would have been more productive to send people back to warn of the future war, so then we could prepare for it, we could research into equipment, technology, we could be ready for this fight. Even if the fight was tough, we'd be more prepared for it. What you have here is you're sending people from the past to fight in the future. But what happens is, when you send people from the past to fight in the future, people from that past are being lost and killed, so the past is becoming dwindled. So when we reach that future, not only are we going to be less prepared, but when we get to that point, humanity is going to be pretty much destroyed anyway. But aside from that, the film is quite fun. It has a good premise. It starts quickly. Within 15 minutes of the film, you're straight into the time travel scene, Chris Pratt being drafted, and you're into the future. Although it is futile, I did quite enjoy the idea of people being drafted without consent. It made the film feel more tense, and when Chris Pratt's character Dan is drafted, you kind of feel for him because you know he has to go leave his family behind and in a war that he might die in. And they do tell you straight away that the chance of survival is extremely slim. But hey, if you die, you get a $1 million payout. J.K. Simmons, as always, is excellent as an old estranged war vet in this film. Ever since his performance in Whiplash, I think he's been putting out some great work lately, and he is really believable, and I kind of rooted for him in the end of the film. Another thing I found strange is they do give you a 24-hour time limit to draft, and you have to get your affairs in order. I thought they could have done this a bit better with Chris Pratt, have him bond with his father, maybe bond more with his family, you know, make it more emotional. But he spent more time trying to get out of the deal and trying to figure out how to stop it, and then just argue with his father again. Which, like I said, it felt a little bit forced, but still we get into the action really early on. I was confused for this film. I was under the impression that the people being sent had some training or some military experience, but they are literally sending civilians to fight a future war. They give them a gun, some equipment, and just push them out into the war, straight through time travel, straight into a war zone, which I thought was a little bit strange because they're just going to get slaughtered. They're just instantly going to die. I mean, people still got their uniforms on from work, for God's sake, in some scenes. I feel like they could have done this a bit better. They could have had more organisation. I know their time was quite short, but they should have assigned military personnel to each group more frequently to ensure more survival. Early on in the film, I noticed that the special effects were fantastic for this film. Visually, it was striking. The explosions, the fire, the alien designs were unique, they were formidable, they were scary. I liked how they made the aliens extremely tough and relentless, and it made each conflict very tense and very suspenseful, and when the group is outnumbered and swarmed, you really fear for their safety. Also, the sound effects were great. There's gunfire, explosions, alien noises all going on at the same time. This post-apocalyptic war zone of the future world was visually great to look at. It had a really good Independence Day heroic feel, and although I didn't root for the characters early on, because a lot of them were kind of disposable, eventually I just started to like the characters more and started to enjoy them and want them to succeed. Although the film was fun, it had aliens and gunfire explosions and action-packed, it did feel kind of disposable, and I was losing interest a little bit at the start. But at the end of the first act, the film does get a lot more interesting. Not only do we get introduced to the main character's daughter from the past, who's now a commander in the military in the future, but they find a way to fight back against aliens. They make a virus that they can use against them, but they have to use it on the Queen because she's the only one immune to the virus, so she is the key to victory. And I thought the film got a lot better at this point. Not only because we had someone from the past with Chris Pratt's character, it made the dynamic more fun, but we also learned that his character Dan is not only absent from the family and kind of pushed them aside and left them, but he's also died. So you have this dynamic right away. You have him going from instantly having a loving daughter who he cares for and is really close with, to being in the future, and she instantly has some issues with him and some objections to working together. And I thought this conflict was great, it felt more natural, and the film got a lot better at this point for me. It's also during the second act and third act that the time travel aspect of the film kind of gets pushed aside, it's pushed to the back. You kind of forget about it, you kind of forget this is a film about people going to the future. It's just an alien invasion film, which was fine for me, because the time travel stuff was a little bit silly and I didn't really care too much about it really, but when we had his daughter character there, the stakes were higher, and when I knew they had a way to fight back, it got a lot more exciting. Act 2 ends with capturing the Queen and learning about his relationship with his family and how he left them all, adds drama and tension and foreshadows the relationship he had with his father in the past. I did like how the bond and knowledge of the loss of his daughter comes full circle when he returns home. It was nice to see his daughter again and see her love and embrace him. And even though the dialogue and a lot of things in this film were extremely cheesy and over the top, it was nice, it felt good to see something like this again. And didn't take itself too seriously, just an action-packed sci-fi fun film. The ending, the Act 3 was my favourite. This is when Dan and his father and a few people team up to go to find the aliens underground and destroy the Queen once and for all. In fact, Act 3 made Act 1 feel inferior compared to this part of the film. The whole time travel aspect just kind of get pushed aside, and I didn't really care too much about that anymore. I care more about the characters now. The ending was tense, it was suspenseful, it was dramatic. Dan and his father fighting the alien in the snow, he had a sniper rifle, him on a jet ski, just trying to inject this venom into the alien, and it was extremely fun to watch. It did go a little bit far-fetched at one point. I will say that Chris Pratt does jump on the alien and start having a fist fight with the Queen. I actually laughed when I was watching the film to myself, but you know what? That's fine, the film can do that for me. I get a free pass for this. I want to see that, that's what I want to see. I want to see something ridiculous. I want to see Chris Pratt punching an alien and injecting it with venom in its throat. That's what I want to see in my movies. The film does have a slightly disposable feel to it. It's kind of one of them films you're going to watch and then kind of forget about in a few weeks. You think back and think, yeah, it was a fun film to watch. But even though it was predictable, it was cheesy and a little bit silly, it was a fun film to watch, and I had a great time watching this movie. It was action-packed, it was suspenseful, despite it being a little long-winded, it was a fun, action-packed sci-fi thriller. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Tomorrow War. Are you going to watch it? Don't forget, it's free for Amazon Prime members. As always, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.